As you guys can tell, I'm right here in the beautiful Tampa, Florida area. And I was just walking along the Riverwalk and I saw something that was kind of sad. I saw a bunch of guys that were incredibly capable. They looked like smart dudes, probably doing well with their careers, probably have, successful relationships. But a lot of them were walking around with their shirts on, with love handles, kind of like a bit of a gut. And I'm like over here thinking, man, it doesn't have to be that way. There's no reason that you should have to conceal your body with your shirt. You should feel 100% confident to do what I do, which is just take my shirt off, have an awesome body that I'm super proud of. And, I talk to a lot of guys similar to that, and I kind of start to learn a little bit about how their mind works. And a lot of them say things like this. They say like, if I fall off, I've failed. They say like being fit means sacrificing and suffering. They say things like, I don't have time for fitness in my actual life and in my routine. Or they'll say things like, fitness requires constant motivation and a lot of energy. Or they'll say things like, I'm not the kind of person who stays consistent. And I think it's a shame because I think those ways of thinking, those beliefs are actually what hold these guys back, because they buy into their own limiting stories and they behave in a way that is consistent with their beliefs and consistent with the message that they tell themselves. And that ultimately, compounded over time, ends up keeping them stuck, ends up without the results that they truly want. And I know a lot of these guys actually have a dream in their mind that they'd love to have a body that they're super proud of. They'd love to be lean, athletic, strong, and just feel like, man, I'm bringing my best self everywhere I go. I'm bringing my best self to my career, to my relationships, to lead by example for those around me. So in this video, I just want to be helpful for you. If you tend to hold any of those limiting beliefs, I want to invite you to consider different ways of thinking that fit people have, right? Because I know the most fit people I know, myself, some of my fit clients, right? Some of my fit friends, they don't hold those same ways of thinking when it comes to their fitness. They hold very empowering beliefs, and those empowering beliefs actually help them take better actions that help them create better results. So my goal in this video is to be helpful for you, help you reframe some of your limiting beliefs around your health so that you can transform your mind and then therefore transform your body. And this is exactly what I've been helping guys do. I've been coaching since I was 19 years old. I've helped hundreds of guys, and a lot of them have started with limiting beliefs, had bad habits, bad routines that were keeping them stuck for years. And through these same things that I'm teaching you, I'm just going to be passing down the lessons and different stories and experiences that have helped them create transformation as well. So let's get right to it. Go to our first spot here in Tampa, and I'm going to help you guys. Let's go. Let's create this transformation both mentally and physically. Let's get it. So here are some of these guys that I was mentioning, the guys that, have some love handles, aren't as fit as they know they could be, the guys that, have kind of been stuck for a while. And they'll say things like, if I fall off, I fail, right? So they're kind of scared to go all in on their fitness because they've tried that before. They've done programs in the past. They've tried making this change in the past. And if it doesn't go perfect for a couple of days, right? Let's say something in their life just kind of hits them, like they're traveling, they have like a family event and they fall off, they really beat themselves up. They carry a lot of baggage around that. And in their mind, they think like, oh, I failed. And the thing is, like, fit people don't think that way. The most fit people I know, they don't even believe in failure, right? Because in reality, failure entails that like you stop trying, right? So they view failure as an illusion, right? Because you only actually fail if you quit, right? So when they say like, okay, even the most fit people I know, if they have a hiccup, if they have a moment where they mess up, it's always framing it as a learning opportunity. It's always like, hey, like, let me shrink my mistakes into irrelevance. If I make one mistake, I'm going to follow up with 5 productive actions. So they're not afraid of failure, right? Because they understand like there's going to be imperfect moments. That's inevitable. That's just our nature as humans. We're fallible. We make mistakes. So when you have this commitment of being like a fit person, you can't fear this failure as like it's, this thing that's destined to happen. You have to like just understand that there might be an imperfect moment, and it's just an unwavering commitment to bouncing back, to shrinking your mistakes into irrelevance. And that's like the fundamental, most empowering belief that the most fit people I know all hold, is to them, failure is not an option because they know they'll never quit. They're fully committed to being fit people, right? So there's a difference between wanting to fit and being committed to being fit, right? Wanting to be fit is just saying like, oh, it'd be really nice to be leaner. It'd be really cool if I had a 6-pack, right? But a commitment is saying like, I will have a 6-pack. Like I will be fit. Like I'm a fit person. Like I'll be fit or I'll die trying. And failure is not an option. Retreat is not an option. Yes, I'll make mistakes, but I'll bounce right back. And the minute you kind of draw your line in the sand and you go from wanting to committing, and it just says like, hey, this is a new way of life for me. Like no matter what, I'm fully committed to this. And yes, there's going to be those moments, but I'm going to fully commit to bouncing back from all of them. So that's like the first thing I would love to invite you to consider is like, if you hold that belief, like if I fall off, I've failed, is understand that failure is completely like subjective. It's actually an illusion. And as long as you understand that like it's fully in your power to bounce back from any mistakes, and one mistake doesn't define you, like how you follow up from your mistakes, that's what defines you, right? And the minute you adopt that as an empowering empowering belief, as an empowering way of thinking, it's like, wow, that's a beautiful headspace to live in, because now it's not a matter of if, it's when. And you're committed. You understand, yes, there's going to be those hard moments, but I'm going to overcome all of them and, treat every single challenge as a growing opportunity. I'd love to invite you to consider adopting that belief as your own. And I know that could serve you massively. So the next limiting way of thinking that I've observed from those guys that, kind of struggle with those love handles and they don't have the body that they want is they normally think that being fit means sacrifice and suffering. So I'll share a couple examples of guys that I've worked with that used to hold that belief. For example, my client Delton, he's a lawyer right here in Tampa. He used to just go to camp, which was like group fitness where it's a lot of high reps. It's really exhausting. He would just always be, pretty much putting his body through torture to be fit. And it just wasn't really sustainable for him. He works like 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And like when I talked to him, he's like, yeah, like it was just hard. Like it was hard to stick to. I fell off. And he actually went from he used to be pretty lean. He was a swimmer back in high school. And he went all the way up to 217 pounds when I met him. And when I talked to him, I was like, yep, that really checks out. That makes sense. Because when you view in your head, like working out and fitness has to be super painful and it's like suffering, why would you want to willingly do something that feels like suffering, right? So when I started working with him, I got him on very time and energy efficient workouts. So he goes to the gym, it's like 35, 40 minutes, and he plays tennis on his off days. And when he's in the gym, he's doing maybe 10 or 12 total sets, actually making the most out of his time and energy, lifting heavier so he can get good bang for his buck with everything that he's doing. Now we've been working together since July. So almost, like 5-6 months, he's down from 217 pounds to 198 pounds. And it's been super sustainable for him. Like I never set a quantitative goal for him, right? Like that's one way that I coach my clients a lot differently is it's not like, hey, like let's get to this body fat percentage. Like let's set this quantitative goal and let's build this plan, do these things to get to this goal, right? Like the things in life that are easy for you to stick to are not things that require that willpower and that goals. It's just the things that you just do because it's a part of who you are. So like think of like identities that you already hold, right? Like if you think of yourself as a hygienic person, it's probably super easy for you to do your hygiene habits, like brush your teeth every morning. Why? Because it's just a part of who you are, right? If you think of yourself as an organized person, right? It's probably super easy for you to make your bed or, just keep your house clean or, do your laundry and whatnot. Why? Because it's just a part of who you are. It would be out of character to not, right? Same thing with, if you think of yourself as like a career focused type of dude, right? It's super easy for you to do your business habits, right? Showing up to your business meetings, making sales, managing team, right? All these things, it's super natural for you because why? It's just a part of who you are. So you want to capture that same type of methodology when it comes to your fitness. You just want to be able to think of yourself as like, hey, I'm a fit person. This is who I am now, right? And it doesn't mean like you have to set a goal. You don't have to go hard in the paint for this achievement. It's not an accomplishment, right? Like, did you ever have to set like an accomplishment with brushing your teeth? Like, by this date, I want to have 2 shades lighter teeth, right? You've never done that. You're just like, no, I'm a hygienic person now. And you brush your teeth accordingly. So it's the same exact type of methodology as what I do with all my clients is I help them get really crystal clear, not just the outcome that they want, but who they'll have to become, the new version of themselves. So we're creating almost an identity shift, right? And then we're adopting different ways of thinking. So instead of thinking like fitness has to be suffering, it's like, hey, no, fitness is sustainable. Fitness is fun. Fitness is efficient. And that way of thinking actually serves them, right? Because now it's like, holy cow, I can actually learn to just love the process. I can have a routine that I just, becomes a part of my character, is a part of who I am. I can get stronger. I can do the gritty rep. Right? On my off days, I can do a little bit of cardio. Like Delton, he does a little bit of tennis, with his girlfriend. Some of my clients like to do little walks over here, like on Riverwalk and stuff. So we just got to find like, what are those habits for you that feel like they could just be rooted in your identity? You could see yourself sticking to for the rest of your life. Most guys that I work with, they're tired of the accomplishment route. They don't want to just prepare for a marathon, right? They're just like, hey, I would want to just be a fit person. I want to reap all the rewards of just like actually being more toned, actually feeling like the best version of myself, actually just feeling that self-generated confidence. So when I say confidence, I'm not talking about your bravado. I'm not talking about how charming you are, how good you are in social situations. I'm talking about your own reputation with yourself. Like when you look in your eyes in the mirror and you look at your reflection, you're like, damn, I'm just like super proud of who I am. I know I'm living to my full potential in all aspects of life. Like, 'cause if you look in the mirror and you're still struggling with like, you're chunky and you're like, man, like I know like I have the potential to be way more fit than this. Like that's always going to keep you from living into the highest version of yourself. It's just objective reality, right? Like your body is literal proof on you, quantitative evidence that when you look at yourself every single day of your integrity and of your beliefs and of you living and showing up into your full potential, right? And when you're doing this physically, it's like a business card. It's one portrays to everybody around you that like, wow, this is a man of his word. This is a man that's world class. This is a man that takes himself seriously. This is a man that's committed to growth. And it's just proof to yourself of self-confidence. Like, things don't hurt as bad. People's negative comments towards you, they don't hit as hard because you have that self-generated proof in who you are that you've accumulated, through your actions, through your habits. So that's just a way of thinking that I would love to invite you to consider is, you don't have to view fitness through just like fitness is suffering, it's pain. You can view it through this lens of, hey, this is sustainable. This is just a part of who I am. The next limiting belief that I see out of shape guys struggle with is that fitness requires constant motivation and high energy. They rely on their feelings as the guide of what type of decisions they make and what type of actions they take. So to them, it's like, only if I'm in a good mood, only if I'm feeling super hyped up, am I gonna like do the things that I said I was gonna do, like, going to the gym, eating nutritious meals. So they become reliant and dependent on their emotions and their feelings. Compared to fit people, they're actually take actions based on their values and their goals, regardless of how they feel, right? So like, I'll give an example of my client Dylan. He initially like had gotten his fitness journey going, and he ended up actually like totally hitting a wall where he just had like some challenges in his life, and he fell off his routine for multiple months. And that's when I met him, and I was like, he hadn't been lifting for a while. He got into a lot of very stagnant habits, and he kind of was like, man, like I just hadn't been feeling super motivated. Kind of felt like he was coasting. And the first thing I did with him is like, I helped him kind of create this identity transformation that I'm telling you guys about, where I helped him actually envision like a new version of himself. I helped him, recalibrate his own self-image. And then I was like, hey, like every single time you go to the gym now, you're not just doing it, to get this result. You're not just doing it to get this goal, but you're doing it to embody this new version of you that we created, this new version of you that you said that you're committed to becoming. Now for him, it became super sustainable. He didn't become dependent on his moods and his motivation anymore. It became now like super easy and natural for him to do it every single day, because he's like, wow, like I am awesome Dylan now. I am the best version of me. And like, I'm fully committed to living into that identity. So every single day it was like, hey, I'm just doing the things that how I already perceive myself to be. Kind of like I said with you guys with hygienic people, it's super easy to brush your teeth. For organized super people, it's super easy to make your bed. Same type of thing, right? You don't become reliant on, am I really in the mood to make my bed today? Am I really in the mood to brush my teeth? It just becomes a part of what you do. So it's called taking value-oriented action compared to feeling-oriented action, right? Guys that are out of shape, they're victims to their emotions and their feelings. Guys that are in shape, they take actions based on their values and their vision, right? So it's like, you have to be willing to act based on things that you can't quite see and experience, right? So that's why it's so powerful, getting super clear on this new version of you that you're becoming, is because then, you don't really become a victim to your emotions anymore. You're started able to take actions regardless of how you feel, because you want to honor, this vision of who you're committed to becoming. So yeah, that's like one of the biggest differences I noticed between really fit people and out of shape people is it does for them, they'd rather act themselves into good feeling than to try to feel themselves into good action. So they're not a victim to their emotions. They become the controller of their own emotions. The last limiting belief of out of shape people is they'll say things like, I'm just not the type of guy that can stay consistent. So they have like their own very limited self-image based on their past experiences, right? So they fundamentally let their past define their future. They said, okay, I did these things in the past, so this is just who I am. And because they have that claim and those experiences, they let that actually hold them back from making change, right? But the most fit people I know, they don't let their past define their future. They understand that, hey, I can always make a change. I can always rewrite my future. I can always set new habits and accumulate new evidence about the type of person that I am. And I'm actually willing to edit my character, right? So that's like a very empowering belief of, very fit people, is they understand that, hey, like I always have the opportunity to change, so this is basically almost every guy that I've worked with has undergone this process, right? Like I think of clients like, my client Brian, who in the past he had always kind of been up and down, setting goals, falling off. And because he had gone through those experiences in his past, he kind of, that held him back from actually being consistent in the future. But what I invited him to consider when we started working together is like, hey dude, like it's not about being perfect. It's not about having to be all or nothing. Like let's just build a few sustainable habits that just become a part of who you are, and that you can just let them rip. You can just let them work for you in the background, right? So we did that. We kind of did the same process I'm mapping out to you, where we envision this new version of himself, Warrior Brian, version of him that kind of thinks of himself as a fit person. And then we just set very simple, sustainable habits. Going to the gym a few times a week, very time and energy efficient workouts to make it easier to stick to, right? A way that kind of fit into his lifestyle, into his routine very naturally. And once he kind of locked those in, he let him start to rewrite his own future. He started to change the way that he viewed himself, right? So it's like, think of it like if right now I wanted to become a drummer, I've never drummed a day in my life. It would be like really hard for me to start to just naturally be like, oh, I'm a drummer. I have no idea how to drum. I've never drummed. So I'd have to start to kind of picture like myself being a drummer. How would that fit into my life? Like what type of habits habits would I have to build when it comes to drumming? And then I'd have to start practicing. I'd have to start thinking like, I'm Jacob the drummer. I'd have to start doing these simple reps of just accumulating this evidence to make that statement true. And then eventually with enough time, when I accumulate this evidence, now it just becomes a part of who I am. So you kind of want to capture that same way of thinking with you being a fit guy, with you being a gym goer, you being a type of person that likes to fuel his body. You know, you just kind of decide consciously, say, hey, this is who I'm committed to becoming. And then say, okay, what type of actions and habits can I stick to start to accumulate this evidence? And then it's like, okay, now you just give it time, right? It's like every time you go to the gym, it's like you're dropping a vote in this ballot that says, I'm a gym goer. You know, every time you eat a nutritious meal, you know, you're dropping a vote in this ballot. It's like, I'm the type of dude that likes fueling his body, being fair to his body. And you just give it time, right? There's no timetable. There's no, I have to get there in 1 month. I have to get there in 3 months. It's just, hey, this is a lifestyle. This is an identity change. This is who I'm committed to becoming. And I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to keep casting these votes. All right. I'm going to keep on accumulating this evidence in this ballot. And eventually, when you got enough evidence of who you are and you say you're that person and you had all this evidence to prove it, guess what happens? It just becomes a part of your character. And that's why fit people, they don't have to think, am I going to the gym this week? It's just like, hey, it's just something I'm just going to do. It's part of who I am. I want that for you. Because if you have that, that's like having really healthy roots of a plant. What happens when you have healthy roots on a tree, right? You're going to start to produce healthy fruits, healthy leaves, right? So the leaves are kind of like the results, right? So if you have results that you don't like, it's not worth focusing on. It's not worth trying to pluck off, you know, the rotten fruit and squeak it clean. You're so much better served like watering your roots, focusing on yourself, focusing on your habits, focusing on your identity. If you water your roots long enough, what's going to happen? You're going to start to produce healthy, you know, fruits, healthy outcomes. Okay. So it's like one of the number one biggest things that I see guys that they struggle is they notice I don't have results that I want. I'm not super fit. And it's like I have rotten fruits on my tree and they let that keep them from watering their roots. See how backwards that is? It's like if you just fully commit that I'm going to set these sustainable habits, I'm going to decide to become a fit person, even if I don't have the results that match yet, I'm committed to that process. If you do that for long enough, what's going to happen? You're going to have the results that you want and have the healthy fruit. All right, guys, thanks for coming on this walk on Riverwalk with me. I hope you learned a thing or two about, you know, how to start to recalibrate your self-image, how to start setting new habits, how to start taking a more sustainable approach when it comes to actually just becoming the fit version of you, the 2.0 version of you. And if you prescribe to any of those limiting ways of thinking that we talked about, right? Like if I fall off, I failed. You know, fitness has to be sacrifice and suffering, right? Like, you know, I need to be constantly motivated and have a lot of energy, right? All of these limiting ways of thinking, if you prescribe to any of those, I just hope that this video served you, that you can start to, you know, discard your old ways of thinking and adopt more empowering beliefs that fit people have. Because if you can think like a fit person, what's going to happen? You're going to become a fit person. So don't let your past define your future. Don't let your limiting ways of thinking keep you stuck. If you're actually willing to, you know, seek help, not be intolerant, right? Actually like transform your mind and your ways that you look at yourself, the way that you look at your health, you can actually fully transform your body. You can fully transform the results and the fruits in your life. And I see that for you. I want that for you. And, you know, it could be tough to do that process by yourself, right? Like if getting fit was like building a house, it's hard to do it with by yourself and with your bare hands. It's a lot easier when you got a team, when you got some power tools. So that's exactly what I help guys do. So if you're fully committed to creating this identity transformation, becoming the fit you, start watering your roots so that you can have the healthy fruits. You can have the new results. You can have, you know, a lean body. You can have a six pack. You can get rid of your love handles and you can feel more self-confident. You can start to earn a healthy reputation with yourself. If you're committed to that, if you want that, and you're ready to not just let your limiting beliefs keep you stuck, you're ready to discard those ways of thinking. Like, I'm just too busy. Like, if I fall off, I fail, right? Like, if I'm not super motivated or energized, I can't do it. If you're ready to like get rid of those ways of thinking and adopt those more empowering beliefs, and I would love to invite you to consider, you know, reaching out to me and let's implement this process together. I'd love to help you see it through. I'd love to help you start to transform your self-image, your identity, and ultimately the results in your life. So thanks for coming on this river walk with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.